Good morning, writers. Today's date is 1/10, and today as a writer, I am working on reading my story closely for understanding. Last week, each partnership had 3 stories that they were given to either listen to or read, and then jot some notes about. Today I want you to look back at your notes and decide which story you think you would like to read more closely and write an essay about. You and your partner will need to make sure you choose the same essay. When you think you have an idea of this, put a little star by that story title on your note sheet and give me a thumb up. So writers, before you can write a literary essay, you first need to climb inside that story and let all of the details surround you, really paying attention to what you see and hear and notice on the page. Only then can you really decide what you want to say about the story. To do this, writers, you will need to read closely, paying attention to little details that others might pass by, and then write to grow ideas about those details. This chart here should look really familiar. This is something that you will have seen in Reader's Workshop. These are some things that close readers do. Let's review them. The first one is read the text slowly at least twice. We'll be reading our text more than twice. Get the gist of what the text is about. Circle words you aren't sure of and try to figure them out. Reread, annotate, and underline key vocabulary. Use the text to answer questions. Gather evidence from the text. Talk with each other about what you think it means. And read again to summarize or answer specific questions. Readers who want to grow ideas from reading a text find it helps not just to read, but also reread a text. So let's reread the book Fox. I know you've already heard me read this book aloud, and we've already done some talking about it. But this time, as we reread, let's turn our minds on high, looking for moments or details that strike us as important to the whole text. Through the charred forest, over hot ash, runs dog, with a bird clamped in his big, gentle mouth. He takes her to his cave above the river, and there he tries to tend her burnt wing. Something that I know is to grow big ideas about a text, especially a short text. It helps to pause early and often, and to force ourselves to notice what the text is actually saying instead of zooming along. Let's go back and reread that part again, thinking of what might be really important there. Through the charred forest, over hot ash, runs dog, with a bird clamped in his big, gentle mouth. He takes her to his cave above the river, and there he tries to tend her burnt wing. Something that I noticed as I read this part again was that they described dog's mouth as gentle. That's something that I find really interesting. It seems like a really unusual word to use to describe a dog's mouth. And I know that when I grow ideas about characters, I usually notice unusual words that the author used to describe that character. I'm going to take a quick note on what I'm noticing. One thing that close readers know is that it is really important to be constantly thinking about what you're reading. Something that we can do to help us with this is to use some thought prompts to help us with what we've noticed in our close reading and push our brains to have more thoughts about it. You all should have a ways to push our thinking chart with these prompts and more in your binder from your last essay unit. So in this story here, like I said before, I see that dog's mouth is called gentle, even though dogs have sharp teeth and use their mouths to eat other animals. Now I want to continue growing that idea, so I'm going to choose one of these ways to push our thinking. And I'm going to use this one here. this is giving me the idea that. So this is giving me the idea that even though most dogs' mouths are made to bite other animals, this dog uses his mouth in a different way. Let's continue to add on to this thought. An example of this is that dog is carrying a bird in that mouth. He is saving her life instead of eating her. He is a caring kind of dog. Writers, do you see that after I read a bit, I looked back at the story noticing details, and then pushed myself to write about what I was noticing? I used thought prompts like this is giving me the idea that, and an example of this is to lead myself down a path of thought toward new ideas about the text. If I hadn't been writing about facts, I would have zoomed right past the detail that dog's mouth was described as gentle. But writers see more and notice more. So let's try this. I'm going to read the rest of the page to you, and I want you to really pay attention to the detail and see what ideas you can grow. He takes her to his cave above the river, and there he tries to tend her burnt wing. But Magpie does not want his help. I will never again be able to fly, she whispers. I know, says Dog. He is silent for a moment. Then he says, I am blind in one eye, but life is still good. An eye is nothing, says Magpie. How would you feel if you couldn't run? Dog does not answer. Magpie drags her body into the shadow of the rocks until she feels herself melting into blackness. Turn and talk with your partner about details that you find important. Use our ways to push our thinking to help you really grow those ideas. Go ahead and do that now. Teachers can have some students share their ideas now. Today, writers, you learned that to get big ideas about texts and eventually grow these ideas into a literary essay, you need to read closely and write in response to your reading. So here, we have the start of our How to Write a Literary Essay. The first step is to grow ideas about a text, and make sure that you're using thought prompts to help you do that. Today, as you go back to your spot and read the story that you have chosen, really work hard to grow your ideas and jot your ideas about your text. Make it a great writing day.